Okay, it's time to start our training. So very glad to hold this 2021 Grade Online sharing. So for today's topic is about the water heater VERSATI 3 DC inverter multifunctional water heater. And my name is Neil from Grade Training Department. Okay, so in this presentation there are 4 parts about the product overview and key components and the major features and the comparison and summary. First part, product evolution. The VERSATI product, the latest version is the 3rd generation. However, we already developed this product many years ago. The 1st generation is around 2007, and then we developed the 2nd generation VERSATI 2, and now we have the latest version, 3rd generation VERSATI 3. That's the brand new product with a lot of new features, and is really excellent for the home use. Okay, so what is VERSATI? Actually, it's a kind of multifunctional water heater. You can get the air conditioning, hot water, floor heating, and you can even get all of these by only one product, by the VERSATI 3. And for this 3rd generation, we update the refrigerant to R32. That's more eco-friendly to the customer, to the environment. However, we also upgrade a lot of components. You can get a higher energy efficiency and also a better comfort for the customer. Okay. Currently for the VERSATI 3, there are 3 types. We have the split one, which means the outdoor unit, hydro box, and the water tank, they are independent. And here is, for example, this model. You can say this one. If the nomenclature there is H, design sequence code, that means this is split. And another type is all-in-one type. Is different with split. For the split type, the hydro box and the water tank, they are independent. However, in the all-in-one type, we integrate the split in the hydro box and the water tank together. So you can see, actually this is integrated a water tank with hydro box. So in nomenclature, if there is G and H, that means the all-in-one type. Okay, except for the previous 2 types, we have another one, monoblock, which means the hydro box is into the outdoor unit, and the design sequence code is G. This means monoblock. Okay, that's the basic information of VERSATI 3. Now we have a general view of the product lineup. Here is the nomenclature of split, and GRS means gray hot water. This is circulating type. C is circulating. Q is the heat pump. Here is the capacity. Okay, and PD means DC inverter. Yeah, DC inverter. NH is the refrigerant type, and R32. And here is the design sequence code, A, B, C, D, etc. For the VERSATI 3, split is H. Okay, master netter is the power supply. We have the single phase and 3-phase power supply for choice. For the single phase split type, the basic is 4 kilowatt, and the maximum you can get is 16 kilowatt. And for different range, their appearance is a little bit different. These two share the same dimension and size. These two 8 and 10 kilowatts, they are the same size. For these three, they are the same size. However, no matter how big the unit is, the hydro box, they are the same. Yeah. And you can see the model of the unit capacity here. And this page is a 3-phase split type. However, for 3-phase split, the basic is started from 8 kilowatt. Yeah, 8 kilowatt. And maximum is also 16 kilowatt. Hydro box also the same. For this unit, for this page, the power supply is 3-phase, around 380 volts. Next one is the all-in-one type. VERSATI 3 is also single phase, from 4 kilowatt to 16 kilowatt. Hydro box also the same. Okay, so actually for this one, not only a hydro box but also a tank. The hydro box is in the upper part. The water tank is in the lower part. We integrate them together, so it looks more beautiful and more compact, and also more friendly for the installation. Okay. Next one is the all-in-one type 3-phase. The minimum 8 kilowatt capacity, maximum is 16 kilowatt. The hydro box and tank, this indoor unit, they are the same. Okay, that's the split. For the monoblock unit, you can see here is the outdoor unit appearance. So for this type of hydraulic part are integrated into the outdoor unit. Yeah, which means when you install this monoblock unit, you just connect with the water pipe. No need to do the brazing or copper pipe connection. Yeah. And despite that, you can choose the hot water tank. That's optional if you need the hot water for a shower. And here is the nomenclature for monoblock unit. Gray hot water, circulating, heat pump, 12 kilowatt, okay, PD DC inverter, R32 refrigerant type. This is the monoblock sequence. Design sequence number G stands for monoblock. MK is the power supply. And for the monoblock unit, the capacity range is also from 4 kilowatt to 16 kilowatt. And for the 3-phase power supply starts from 10 kilowatt to 16 kilowatt. The 3-phase power supply. However, for single phase, 4 kilowatt to 16 kilowatt. Okay. Here is an example of the water tank. This picture is just for reference, because for different markets, maybe the water tank is a little bit different. Okay, so this picture is just for reference. So if you need the hot water, you can choose the water tank, connect with the VERSATI unit to store the hot water, and then you can release the hot water for shower. There are many ports. For example, this too is the circulating coil. If you need a solar panel, solar energy, you can connect with this two port for circulating. This too is the heat pump circulating. Okay, and this is the the tap water in and the shower, and this too is the temperature sensor for temperature sensor connection. And you know, for the water tank, and the units have a disinfection function, and you can heat the water around 70 degrees Celsius to kill the bacteria, to keep it clean, keep a good status. And for the water tank, the volume is 300 liters. Yeah. And type is in number water tank. So actually, this is a optional part. If you need, you can choose it. Okay, that's the first part, product lineup about capacity and 3 different types of the VERSATI 3. Then the second part is about the components. So first one, this is the split VERSATI 3 outdoor unit. So when you get the unit, you remove the front casing, and you can see all of the major components is here, such as the fan motor, compressor, okay, liquid gas separator, and there is a plate heat exchanger. This is for the equalizer. Actually, this is an equalizer, and the electronic expansion valve too, to control the equalizer refrigerant throttling. And this one is the major expansion valve one. And here is the control box, oil valve to shift the running mode. And here is the electric box, and also at the bottom of the chassis there is a heater for anti-freezing. Hello friends, could you mute your microphone? Yeah, thank you. That's the outer unit. And for split type, the indoor unit hydro box, when you remove the case, you can see here control panel. For the split VERSATI 3, the control panel is built in. And water pump, expansion tank, control box, PHE. Sorry, wait a moment, I will mute. Oh, I cannot mute key. Hello? Could you just mute your microphone? Okay. And the air vent for the air discharge indicator. This is a built-in indicator. A water pressure gauge to detect the water pressure. Safety valve to prevent the over high pressure of the water system. 3-way valve to control the flow direction of the water. Here is a flow switch to keep the unit can detect the water flow, to make sure there is sufficient water in the system to avoid freezing or some problem happen. Okay. Next one is the all-in-one unit. So for the outer side, the outer units, they are is the same with the split. However, for the indoor unit, is different because, just as I said, this unit, the hydro box and the water tank, they are integrated together. So you can see the lower part is the water tank, okay, and the upper part is the hydro box, such as the control panel, plate heat exchanger, flow switch, water pump, e-heater, air release valve, expansion tank, 3-way valve, safety valve, electric box, water pressure gauge, and water tank. And finally, we use a metal to cover them. And actually, when you install the all-in-one unit, the space you can install this unit in the room with a very small space. That's enough for the installation. Also, such as the tank and the 3-way valve, everything is integrated in the casing, so it will save the cost of your installation. Also, for this type, the size is compact, and it looks more beautiful. Some customers, they would like to choose this type. Okay. Next one is the monoblock unit. You can see here DC fan motor, compressor, equalizer, plate heat exchanger, safety valve, to prevent overhigh in the water system, flow switch, water pump for circulating, expansion vessel to keep the water system pressure balance and store the expansion of the water, control box, and also the e-heater at the bottom of chassis. However, for the monoblock unit, the control panel is independent. You need a cable to connect with the electric box, so you can control the unit from the panel. You can install this panel anywhere you want. And this is the Ilema water tank and the structure. So actually, there are two coils. This is lower coil, and here is the circulating water inlet and water outlet. These two ports is for the solar energy if you need, and this two ports is for the heat pump in and out. And here is the electric box for power supply connection, and this port is for drainage. When do troubleshooting and maintenance, we need the water from this port. And these two here is the cooling water in, tap water. If the water is running out, you can charge the water in the tank from this pot. And this is hot water outlet, when you can get the hot water for shower from this pot. And this too is the temperature sensor to detect the water temperature in the tank. Okay. For the VERSATI 3, we already got a lot of certificates, such as the Eurovent, Mark, CE certificate, so it's absolutely qualified for the European market. For the others countries, you can contact with our sales if it is possible for your market. Okay, for the compressor. For VERSATI 3, we adopt the two-stage DC inverter compressor with the EVI technology, which means this unit can be used in a very low temperature, even the a very cold winter. You can see in this graph, because of the two-stage compression and the EVI technology, so you can see the operation range is very wide, and also even a very low ambient temperature, the unit can still keep the discharge temperature not over high to keep the reliability. And also in cooling mode, it can get additional cooling capacity by the double stage throttling. increase the cooling capacity. So in summary, by this compressor, it can broaden the working temperature range and also get the high efficiency. Yeah. Next one is the DC brushless motor. This is the DC motor. As you know that the DC motor energy efficiency is higher than the ordinary motor. A lot of benefits is when you choose the DC motor, the running noise is lower. Yeah, it's more comfortable for the customer. For the heat exchanger, first one we take some anti-corrosive painting on the fin and the condenser, outer unit condenser, so it looks golden. Yeah, and also for the fin we choose the louver fin with blue coated. So for this kind of fin, the heat exchanger efficiency is higher than the normal flat fin. And also the copper pipe, we choose the female threaded copper pipe, also higher heat exchanger efficiency. So by this design, we can keep the unit can run in a very good status, even in a corrosive situation, and also make sure the heat exchange of other units is good to get a better capacity. Next one, the plate heat exchanger. For the VERSATI 3, there are two plate heat exchanger. One is the economizer. Another one is the heat exchanger in the hydro box. So the unit can get the hot water by the heat exchange between the refrigerant and the water. And also, due to the material, the heat exchanger is also anti-corrosive. And the plate heat exchanger, that the thermal efficiency is very high compared with the tubing tube and the other type heat exchanger. Also, the size is small, so that we can put this component in the outer unit or in the hydro box to make them together. Next one, flow switch. For some type, such as the split type and all-in-one type, the 3-valve is built in to control the water flow direction, and flow switch to detect the water volume and the speed to make sure there is sufficient water inside. If insufficient water, the unit will trigger the protection to shut down the unit to protect it. Safety valve, if the water pressure is over high, this valve will open to release the pressure to keep the safety. Next one, the water relief valve for the air discharge, to discharge the air inside and make sure the water pressure is stable. Okay. For the water pump, we choose the inverter water pump, and this is variable flow. And by this pump, the efficiency is high. Also, it's more it's better for the water flow control and to make sure the energy saving can be the maximum. For expansion vessel, there are two types. For split type and all-in-one type, that's the flat expansion vessel. However, for the monoblock type, it looks like a cylinder. Yeah, this is two expansion vessel for split and the monoblock. For the expansion vessel, and this is used for the water storage to keep the water pressure in the system is stable, and also the water expansion. If the temperature increase, some water may be expanded. We need a water tank to store the additional water. Next one, controller. For the VERSATI 3, we choose the new touch screen 4.3-inch color LCD, and this touch screen, the operation is more user-friendly and more easier for setting, checking, and for this controller there are 13 languages available for the customer choice. So you can see here, this is the home page of the controller. Date, Wi-Fi icon, time and on-off, commissioning, view, parameter, function, homepage, set mode. Actually, for this controller is not only for the customer, even our after-sales engineer or technician, they can use this controller as a troubleshooting tool. You can get the information of a parameter and some function setting by this controller. And here is the language choose. About 13 different languages you can choose in this controller. And for this controller, another advantage is there is a Wi-Fi module built in, which means you can use your smartphone, download this application Gray Plus on your phone, then you can do the configuration with the controller and your smartphone, and then you can operate the unit setting on your smartphone. And for this function, currently it's very hot in many countries. A lot of customers, they want to use the smart control by this kind of Wi-Fi or internet or application. Okay, and this Gray Plus is for a Gray customer. However, for the other brand customer, they can choose the OEM. Another application is also available. And this is the configuration page. After you finish the installation of units and prepare a router and Wi-Fi and your smartphone, then you can do the configuration between the smartphone and the controller and the Wi-Fi router, and then you choose the VERSATI, and then it starts the configuration. And then the configuration finish, then you can operate on your smartphone. Okay, that's the second part about the components inside. Next part is the feature about VERSATI 3. Here is the temperature range for heating, cooling, and hot water. So in general, for the heating is minus 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. For cooling is minus 15 to 48 degrees Celsius. That's the total range, I think, for most of the country. And this range is enough for their operation. And for the cooling circulation, the temperature range is from 7 to 25 degrees Celsius. For heating circulation, is 20 to 60 degrees Celsius. Yeah. And for hot water, for the operation range is minus 25 to 45 degrees Celsius. For the hot water you can get is from 40 to 80 degrees Celsius. However, for the hot water, the maximum temperature by the heat pump is 55 degrees Celsius. So above 55 to 80 degrees Celsius is achieved by the e-heater inside. Yeah. However, for this unit, for the VERSATI 3, I think for this range is very wide for operation and the customer usage. And for basic function, first one, timing. For VERSATI 3, you can choose the timing for quiet operation. So actually, if you choose the quiet timing during the light, the unit will start the quiet running to reduce the noise around 10 decibel. And also in the light, the load demand is lower than the daytime. So this is a choice for the customer if they want to balance the use and the sleeping, and they can choose the timing for quiet operation during night. And this is the timing for temperature set points. In daytime and nighttime, the load is changed. So in daytime, the load is high, such as cooling load is high. You can set the 7 degrees Celsius to get a higher output. However, in the lights, you can set 10 degrees Celsius and to reduce the power consumption. Yeah, get some energy saving. Other thermal source. Despite the unit, the heat pump and the e-heater, if you need some other thermal sources, you can connect with this gas furnace or boiler, connect with the unit, and this can operate as additional heat source, especially the ambient temperature is very low in the winter. Maybe the heat pump cannot satisfy the running, so you can get a ladder heat source from the boiler or gas furnace to ensure the output can satisfy the customer. Next one is the solar power for water heating. Just as I said, in the water tank there are another two connection for the solar panel, circulating pipe connection for solar panel. And if the solar energy in your market is sufficient, you can choose connect the solar energy with the tank, also to help you get a higher temperature hot water. Yeah, and this also will keep the units run with higher efficiency, save more energy consumption. Next one, sanitization. This is the disinfection function. After the tank used for a long time, maybe some bacteria inside, you can set the sanitization to heat the water to about 70 degrees Celsius. Then in this temperature, most of the bacteria will die immediately, so the water will be disinfected to keep clean and healthy. Next one is the environment depend mode. This is the automatic control by the temperature change in the daytime and the nighttime, also the season change. For example, the common mode, the living water temperature is flat you can see no matter what the time is, the living water temperature is constant. However, in the light, that's not energy saving. However, if you choose the environment dependent mode, in the daytime the unit will output at the maximum. However, the daytime, here is the daytime, where the living water temperature will be lower. However, during the night time, the living water temperature will be higher. And if you set this function in the controller, you can see the weather dependent, and such as the ambient temperature, minimum, maximum, and the water temperature for heating. That's the minimum, maximum. So actually you can see in this graph, if the outside ambient lower than this setting, for example, the ambient is minus 25 degrees Celsius, so in this range the unit will keep the temperature of the water out very high. However, with the ambient temperature change, accordingly the water out temperature will also change. If the ambient is high, such as in this range 35 degrees Celsius, so in this case the temperature will keep in this line. So actually the environment dependent mode is a kind of energy saving mode to adjust the water temperature with the ambient temperature change, so that the unit can get the energy saving and also keep the water temperature is still enough for the customer. It can automatically calculate the indoor load demand according to the ambient change to balance the energy saving and comfort. Next one is the out mode. During the winter, if the customer dig out, so maybe the water pipe is very dangerous to be frozen, and if out mode set, the unit will start to keep the room temperature around 10 degrees Celsius to avoid freezing of your water pipe and the other things in the home. Yeah. Next one is the current limit. Due to the different country, the policy and the regulations may be the government, they are not allowed the power current exceeds the limit, then you can set the maximum current limit in the controller. For example, the default setting is 16 ampere. Yeah, you can change this value by your policy and the regulations in your country. If the current is over high, the unit will stop to avoid the current exceed the limit, to make sure the unit run can satisfy your country's regulations. And the setting range is the maximum can be 50 ampere. Yeah, 50 ampere. This is the default setting. Next one is the commissioning for the underfloor coils. For the floor heating, the coil is installed below the floor, right? And the first time, when you start the unit, if you directly heat the water to a very high temperature, in this case due to the thermal expansion and contraction, the floor may be deformed. Yeah, may be deformed because of the temperature change. So in order to prevent this problem, we develop this setting, this function. So you can see, you can set multiple segments, and this is the segment time, and then for different segments the temperature will increase a few degrees. Yeah, and then to make sure the temperature of the floor is increased gradually to prevent the very sharp temperature change, so that the floor will not be damaged by the first time floor heating. And for this commissioning, you can set the initial target water temperature and also the time period. Yeah, this time period you can set on the controller, and also the temperature differential for each stage is also can be set, and running time. Yeah, each segment, the running time also can be set. So actually this commissioning function for the underfloor coil is very useful for the floor heating project commissioning. It will help you to preheat the floor and prevent the expansion and the contraction to avoid damage. The next one is the commissioning function for the water system. And for new projects, there are a lot of air in the water system. So in order to exhaust the air inside, this unit can set the air remove the commissioning. And in this case, the water pump, and so all of the valves, 2 valves, 3 valves, they will be open to help you exhaust the air inside, and then the water pressure inside will be stable to avoid some running problem. Next one is the emergency function. If the auto unit is malfunctional and need to be repaired, and then you can set the emergency setting on the controller, and then the unit will use the e-heater, optional e-heater, and the water tank e-heater as the heat source to keep the unit can still generate the hot water, and you can get some troubleshooting time for the repair and troubleshooting for maintenance. Yeah. Next one is the freezing protection. The water system is very dangerous to be frozen in winter and also in the cooling mode. And you can see in the hydro box there are many temperature sensors on the copper pipe to detect the water temperature. For example, if any temperature sensor is lower than 3 degrees Celsius, and then even the unit is standby, and then the water pump will start to circulate the water inside to keep the water run to avoid freezing. Yeah. And then if any temperature sensor value decreases to 2 degrees Celsius, the unit will start the heating mode. The heat pump will start, and until the water temperature is heated up to 20 degrees Celsius, then the unit will stand by. That's the freezing protection by 3 temperature sensor and copper pipe, and also the pump and the heat pump circulating to prevent freezing. Next one is the smart control by the thermostat. If the customer they want the control from thermostat, they can choose this thermostat and connect with the PCB of the unit, and then set the thermostat. This is default without or air and hot water. This is for the FCU, air control, air temperature control. This is for air temperature and hot water temperature control. You can set by your project, and then you can use this thermostat to run the unit, operate the unit. Next one is the remote air temperature sensor. If the room they want to connect with temperature sensor for detection, they can choose this one. You can post this sensor in the room, remote air temperature sensor in the room, and then the unit will get the feedback by this sensor and use this value as a control temperature point. Yeah. For this sensor, the standard length is 15 meters. Yeah, 15 meters. Here is a summary of the function settings, such as comfort, energy saving, installation, smart control. That's the summary table. Okay. So the last part is the summary and the comparison between these 3 types. So how to differentiate the 3 types, such as the split, the all-in-one type, and the monoblock. So, for the split type, the outdoor unit, water tank, and the hydro box, they are independent, right? And if you put the hydro box into the outdoor unit, then you get the monoblock. If you put the hydro box into the water tank, integrate together, then you'll get the all-in-one. Yeah, that's how to differentiate the 3 types. Actually, the function of these 3 types, they are the same, just the components, the size, and the appearance, they are different. Also, the installation is a little bit different. If we see the inner structure, we can see, for example, the split type, the water part, all of them, about the heat exchange between the refrigerant and water, they are located in the hydro box. Yeah, in the hydro box, and also there is a 3-way valve built in. For the all-in-one is similar. The hydro box is in the water tank, above the water tank, and also a 3-way valve built in. Yeah. However, for the monoblock, the 3-way valve is installed by the customer. Yeah, there is no 3-way valve inside, also no e-heater inside, and also this controller is not built in. You need a cable connect with the PCB. That's the structure difference. Another difference is the expansion vessel. For split type, it's flat, and the volume is 10 liter and 1 bar pressure preset. For this one, for the monoblock, that's a cylinder. Expansion vessel is 2 liter and 1.5 bar for this 3 model, and 3 liter and 1.5 bar for this 4 model. So actually you can see that just because the monoblock, the space of our units is very narrow, we cannot use this type, so we change to the cylinder type, and integrated into the other unit. But the function of these two types, they are the same. Next one is the installation difference. So for the split type, you need to connect the copper pipe between the hydro box and other units, and also the water pipe to the tank, to the floor heating, to the FCU. Yeah. However, for the all-in-one type, still need to connect the copper pipe to the floor heating and the FCU. However, for this part, no need to connect with this part for the all-in-one. So actually, it's more how to say that, the installation cost is lower than split. Then the monoblock. For the monoblock, you can see no need to install the refrigerant pipe, no copper pipe, just connect the water pipe to other units, in and out. And for the three-way valve, that's external three-way valve, so you need to install by yourself on the water pipe. For the other parts, they are the same. So in general, split type, the installation is the most complicated, and then the all-in-one type. The monoblock type, I think that's better for the installation and also save the cost. So let's have a look about the working principle. This is the working principle of the split type. So you can see the outer units, indoor units, and the water tank, they are independent. So for example, in this mode, the compressor discharge the refrigerant, and there is a discharge temperature sensor, detect the temperature value, high pressure switch, high pressure sensor, and then this, for example, in heating mode, the hot gas will flow to the heat exchanger and then exchange the heat with the water, and then flow to here. There is expansion valve, control the throttling and flow mass, and then flow to the other units, right? There is a defrosting temperature sensor and the fan and fin tube heat exchanger and ambient temperature sensor, and then flow back to the four-way valve and flow to the gas liquid separator. And there are two no pressure switch, yeah, for different working condition. One is for cooling, one is for heating, and flow back to the equalizer. This pipe is the EVI pipe. So because of equalizer, actually this expansion valve, if open, the units will distribute some refrigerant to the equalizer and then evaporate and then inject to the compressor. Especially in the winter or very cold ambient, it will use this technology to reduce the exhaust temperature and keep the unit run stable. And here, this part is the indoor unit. So you can see there is a PHE, plate heat exchanger, and two connection, right? And two sensor for the temperature detection, or in and out. And this is optional e-heater and safety valve, three-way valve, and this for the water pipe connection. And here is the expansion vessel, flow switch, water pump. Okay. And next part is the field supply, field installation, such as the other thermal, FCU, radiator, two-way valve, and the additional water pump and the water tank. So the units will distribute the water from this to heating to the FCU to radiator, and distribute the domestic hot water to this pipe and to the water tank and flow back here. For this part also flow back. Okay, that's the working principle of the VERSATI 3 split type. However, you can say if the outer unit and the indoor unit hydro box, they are together, so actually integrate the hydro box into outer unit, that's the molar block, and you just need to connect the water pipe system. Next is if the indoor unit and the water tank, they are integrated together, so actually you just connect the refrigerant pipe and FCU, floor heating, radiator, water pipe. For this part, these two water pipe directly connects to here. Yeah. So that's the difference between the split and all-in-one and molar block VERSATI 3. So, friends, for this presentation, any question? Any question for the VERSATI 3 product presentation? If any question, you can use a microphone. We can communicate now. Or you can input in the chat box. So for the VERSATI 3 product presentation, any question about this unit? Okay, if no question for this presentation, it's almost finished. Yeah, thanks for your participation, and I wish that you can get some useful information from this presentation. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for your join. Okay, where can I get the presentation slides? Later I will share the copy of this presentation with our sales manager. You can contact with your corresponding sales manager to get the copy. Okay? You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks for your joining. Bye-bye.